Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Kristen and I am giving you the long overdue October 2024 currently inked pens in review. So let's go ahead and get started. This pen makes me sad. I love this pen so much and that is the reason why I'm so sad about it. This is my Magna Carta Prince 1297. It has a fine flex nib. It is inked up with Kobe ink number 40 Sumiyoshi brown. And I am so sad to say that this pairing that was way too wet in the beginning of the month, it did not last for the entire month. And it wasn't because the ink and pen pairing was too wet. It's because there is something very wrong with the nib. I don't know if I can show you. Let me see if I can give you a white background here so that you can see that there is a gap between the feed and the nib. I took this pen to a Pelikan hub and I let someone else try the pen. Now, in an effort to make the pen right, I believe that someone actually sprung the tines. Instead of trying to figure out what was wrong, they tried to press down harder to make ink come out of the nib. And they sprung the tines. There is now a gap between the nib and the feed that was not there. This gap was not present back in September when I used this pen with Diamine Celadon Cat. So the issue where I wasn't getting much of Celadon Cat to the tip of the nib, it's now been made even worse because the feed is no longer in contact with the nib. Now, the wettest ink in the world cannot overcome this gap, and I will likely send off this pen to a nibsmith to get it fixed once and for all. I hope there's a happy ending because this is still such a beautiful pen. I don't want to get rid of this pen. I just want this pen to work. So there is no writing sample because I could not get it to write beyond that much. Next up is my Visconti Medici with the Palladium, 23 karat Palladium medium nib. I had this one inked up with Sailor 50 States, Texas. And here is the writing sample right here. This is a new pen in my collection, and it's not one of the newer Visconti Medici Briarwood models. That one has a beautiful satin wood-like finish and an 18 karat gold nib. And this pen is the high gloss ancestor of that one. And this one has rose gold trim with a 23 karat Palladium medium nib. It writes smoothly and beautifully with Sailor 50 States, Texas. It was such a gorgeous pairing. The nib sounded and it felt like it was whispering as I wrote this writing sample. I loved the writing experience. Here is my Leonardo Momento Zero Nuvola with rose gold trim. It's got a medium cursive smooth italic grind on it, and I inked it up with Esterbrook Incredible Rock. I really enjoyed this pen and ink pairing. The warm pinky brown ink seems to match beautifully with the rose gold trim on the pen. And I loved the experience of writing with the cursive smooth italic nib. Now it starts to feel a bit sharp and my writing does get a little sloppy whenever I'm in a rush. But when I take my time and just want to appreciate the writing process, this is such a good option, this cursive smooth italic. And this is such a nostalgic pen and ink pairing for me. It reminds me of Georgia with fluffy clouds in the sky and the red clay beneath my feet. This is my Pelikan M1000 in Renaissance Brown with a fine cursive smooth italic nib. It's inked up with Lennon Toolbar Sesame oil. Now here is where I stopped forcing myself to write a full page of text. I got tired of all the hand cramps and continuous writing with very few breaks in between. And so the hand soreness happens regardless of the shape, the size, and the weight of the fountain pen. So I wrote some shorter excerpts from here on out. Now this pen is amazing and the ink is amazing too. So naturally this pairing is amazing. I love how well sesame oil matches this pen. The light brown ink color brings out the lighter flecks in this pen body. And the pairing was so good that I am tempted to use sesame oil only in the Pelikan M1000. I was always so excited and so happy whenever it was time to write with this pen because it was just that good. This is my Sailor 1911 large in maroon with an extra fine nib, and I inked it up with Wearingeul, For Whom the Bell Tolls. So I've tried this ink twice because I'm considering purchasing a bottle for my collection. Now, I absolutely loved it in my Visconti Homo Sapiens Dark Age with a juicy medium nib. When did that happen? Because I really want to compare it. Here it is. Yes. Now, here we go. Here is the writing sample for the same ink in my Visconti Homo Sapiens Dark Age fountain pen with a juicy medium nib. This is the writing sample with the Sailor extra fine nib. With this particular pairing, I was more preoccupied with the delicate Japanese extra fine nib. Now it looks good and it flows perfectly in this pen, but I just realized that this is one of those inks that I'd enjoy more when I'm laying down slightly broader, much juicier lines. Ooh-wee. Ooh-wee. Oh my gosh. This was one of my favorites. Oh my goodness. This is my Pilot Custom 823 in amber with an oblique broad nib. It was inked up with Taccia Koiai. Now this pen and ink pairing is amazing. It was everything that was missing from the previous pairing with the Sailor pen. Now I love this dark teal blue ink with the red sheen, and I am extremely happy that I have a bottle of this ink. This is one of the pen and ink pairings that I wish I had used more often. It's juicy and smooth, and this oblique broad nib makes my handwriting look just a little bit fancy without me even trying to do anything special. I currently have 2 oblique nibs in my collection. Now this one and a Lamy oblique nib that will be featured in my November lineup. Because of this experience, I would really like to add more oblique nibs to my collection. Here is the TWSBI Eco in Cerulean blue with a medium nib. It was inked up with Diamine Glacier. Look at that Star Bright shimmer in there. This Star Bright ink is quite eye-catching. The shimmer seems to jump off the page at certain angles. Let me see if I can show that. There we go. Look at that shimmer. It was just, oh my gosh. Every time I wrote with a pen, it just had so much shimmer in there. It's really quite fascinating to see, but it's a little annoying when you're actually trying to read your notes and the glare becomes a bit much. The ink performed well in the TWSBI Eco, but it wasn't as captivating as some other pen and ink pairings this month, like that one. This is my Bonecrusher 7 Studios Velma fountain pen in the Nightfall Test 1 finish. It has a fine nib, and it was inked up with Wearingeul Frankenstein. This was a beautiful match. I actually really like this match, and I love the cool purple of this ink. I was so excited to use this shimmer ink during October, but the shimmer particles just didn't show up in writing as much as I would have liked. It just looks like a standard purple ink. There are actually more shimmer particles on the opposite page of Diamine Glacier than there are on this page with Wearingeul Frankenstein. Now, aside from the lack of shimmer in the writing, this pairing did perform consistently. Here's my BENU Euphoria Pink Champagne with the Beak point grind, and it was inked up with Sailor 50 States, Wisconsin. I really wanted to like this pairing, but it was just a bit too dry for me. The ink color was pretty. It's really nice, but I don't think that it was the right choice for this pen. I'm beginning to think that maybe I only like writing with darker, wetter purple inks. So this is a really nice purple. This one, a bit underwhelming for me. So what does it mean for this ink? Because I have a full bottle of Sailor 50 States, Wisconsin. I have no idea what to do with this now. Now, if I just focus on this pen, then I can say that I am very happy to have a Beak point grind in my collection. Look at that thing. Oh, this thing is just, it's so fun. And to have it in such a fun colored pen, it is awesome. You can see in this writing sample that I played with making headers like this and emphasizing certain words in the passage just to see what I think about it. And I actually do like it. I'm still playing with my reverse writing angles just a little bit because I've discovered that I can get different line widths based on my writing angle. So I'm having fun with this pen despite not really liking this month's ink selection. So here is the Visconti Mirage Mythos in Aphrodite. It has a fine nib and it was inked up with the Diamine 2023 Inkvent color Tranquility. It was fine. It just wasn't one of my favorites. It didn't stand out, and I always had the thought of like, oh no, it's time to use that pen again. The writing experience was fine. The pen performed beautifully and the ink showed a sufficient amount of shimmer. It checked all the boxes, absolutely. But I don't love this pairing. It's a combination of the reddish purple ink color and the strange feedback that I get when pairing this pen with basically any shimmer ink. So that's 2 strikes against this pairing. It's the ink color and the feel of writing with the pen, with a shimmer ink in this pen. Here's my Sailor Pro Gear Slim Mini in Zine Pink with a medium fine nib. And it was inked up with Sailor Yuramiku Kitsune-biyori. Here is that ink. I really wanted to like this pairing because they seem to match so well color-wise. But since this is a dryish medium fine nib and the ink color is just so light, I hated using this pen. I feel like a broken record when I say this almost every month, but I really do like using darker, wetter, more lubricating inks in my Sailor fountain pens. Kitsune-biyori was none of the above. The pen performed flawlessly every time I used it, and I marveled at seeing how easily the ink actually flowed from this pen. It's just too light for my eyes, and it makes my Sailor feel like a very rough pencil writing on very rough paper. Here's my TWSBI Diamond 580 ALR in black with a medium nib, and I had it inked up with Diamine Lavender Frost. I was disappointed in this pen and ink pairing. It worked fine at the beginning of the month, but it kind of petered out toward the end. There's also something off about the feedback of this nib. It got me wondering if I actually dislike the feel of Diamond 580 nibs and only enjoy them with wet, lubricating inks. Now, Diamine Lavender Frost looks really nice. In this writing sample, it's got the appropriate amount of shimmer as well. And I am slightly cautious about this ink. The pen dried up by the end of the month, and no amount of priming the feed would fix the issue. I even expressed several drops of ink out of the nib to attempt to fix the issue, but that still did nothing. I prefer the look and the performance of Colorverse Iris Nebula over Diamine Lavender Frost. I think I ranked them, but I don't know where the ranking is. Please tell me I put it in here. Yes, I did. Wonderful. Okay. Number 1, maybe I'll do the opposite. So in 12th place is the Magna Carta Prince because it did not perform at all. And the 11th place goes to the TWSBI Diamond 580 ALR with Diamine Lavender Frost. And that's because it stopped working by the end of the month. 10th place goes to the Sailor Pro Gear Slim Mini in the Zine Pink with Sailor Yuramiku Kitsune-biyori because I just did not enjoy such a dry writing pen with such a light ink. 9th place is the Visconti Mirage Mythos Aphrodite with a fine nib inked up with Diamine Tranquility. I also did not enjoy this writing experience, but it was only slightly better than the Sailor Pro Gear Slim Mini. 8th place is the BENU Euphoria Pink Champagne with Sailor 50 States Wisconsin. It was a great pen, but I did not enjoy the ink color or the wetness of this ink. The lack of wetness of this ink. 7th place is my Sailor 1911 Large in Maroon. A beautiful pen, a beautiful ink, but I prefer this ink in a juicier writing pen. Let's see. Number 6 is my TWSBI Eco Cerulean Blue with Diamine Glacier. It was really nice. It's just I preferred 5 pens more than this one. In 5th place is the Bonecrusher 7 Studios Velma with Wearingeul Frankenstein. It performed flawlessly. I just wish that I could have seen more shimmer particles in this shimmer ink. 4th place goes to my Visconti Medici with Sailor 50 States Texas. It was just a really wonderful writing experience, but I still liked 3 other fountain pen and ink pairings a bit more than this one. In 3rd place, oh, this one was difficult, was my Pilot Custom 823 in Amber with the oblique broad nib. Such a beautiful nib. I love this nib, and I loved this pen with Taccia Koiai. Oh, a beautiful writing experience every time I used it. It just got edged out by 2 other fountain pens. So in 2nd place is my sentimental Leonardo Momento Zero Nuvola with a medium cursive italic nib inked up with Esterbrook Incredible Rock. Such an incredible ink. I love that pairing. First place goes to my Pelikan M1000 Renaissance Brown with a cursive smooth metallic, inked up with Lennon Toolbar Sesame Oil. I absolutely loved everything about this writing experience. The color, the pen, the weight of the pen, the grind on the nib. It was just, oh, I love that one. Okay, so I learned a lot of things this month, and a lot of things were reinforced this month. Please write with darker inks in my sailors. Maybe don't use lighter inks in my TWSBI Diamond 580s. Go get that one fixed. Get that one sent out to be worked on by Nibsmith. Put a darker, juicier ink in there. I feel like I've been really critical of this month's pen and ink pairings. At first, I wasn't sure what to think about that, but since I've realized that these pairings have taught me more about myself and what I should strive for when pairing pens and inks in the future. So I like wet and saturated inks, and I will probably dislike Sailor pens, TWSBI Diamond 580 pens, and this BENU Euphoria when they aren't using these wet, lubricating, super saturated inks. Now, even though my Visconti Mirage Mythos performs flawlessly with shimmer inks, I don't think I want to use shimmer inks in this pen anymore. I prefer the feel of this pen with non-shimmer inks. Let me know what you think about these pen and ink pairings, and I'll see you all in the next video. Hopefully I will catch up soon. But until then, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.